Welcome back to the Midlife Reset. We have a very special guest today. We're going to do something completely different we've not done before. So I'm so glad you're with us. We have Valarie Roberts with us today. She is a transformational personal development coach who uses the principles of neuroscience and adaptive leadership to help women shift deeply ingrained thoughts, patterns, and behaviors from limiting and self-sabotaging to an empowered state of connection using natural gifts and wisdom to welcome emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual abundance. Wow. Thank you, Valarie, for joining us today.
Hi, April. Thank you so much for inviting me here to share with you and your audience today.
Yes, we are so glad to have you. Now, I have to tell y'all, I have known Valarie for I don't even want to tell you how many years, but we actually went to school together. We were really good friends. Her family ended up moving away in high school, but definitely we had a lot of fun years together and growing up together. And so we have just stayed connected all these years. And she is an amazing lady, and so I am just over the top thrilled to have her here today. So we're just gonna be asking her questions today and learning from her and how she helps women kind of work through some of these transformational personal development things that she helps with. And she's going to kind of explain some of this to us. So we're going to start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Valarie, and we'll go from there.
For sure, yeah. So, formerly in my previous life, I was a C-suite leader, trainer, coach in both private organizations like school settings, community colleges, and then private organizations. And so, my journey within working within the boundaries of like hive mindedness, same thinking, to creating a life that's intentionally fitting my ideals and fitting what I want my life to be as a mom, as a member of my community and my friendship groups, and professionally, that inspired me to help other people to do the same. So it's been a metamorphosis over the years to work with now public figures, philanthropists, other C suite leaders, and just any woman who's awakened to the realization that there's something more that she wants, whether it's in terms of weight loss, her body, or mindset about her family and her happiness, or professional related goals. So my company, Elevate Her Impact, helps me guide women through this process.
Awesome. And if you haven't checked it out yet, definitely I'll put the links down below in the information section. So you will have a direct contact with Valarie. So if we go through this and you're like, oh, I need to connect with her, we have a way to do that. So let me ask you just some questions if you're open to that. Do you mind if I just ask you some questions? All right.
No,
Awesome.
yeah, go for it.
All right. Awesome. Okay. So did you always know that you wanted to be a transformational coach?
No. So for me, I was first generation college student in my family, and I thought small, right? So I thought, I need to go to college so that I can get a job that pays me enough money so that I can have a nice life and pay my bills and, do something that I can like tolerate all day long. Because most of the people that I knew, they just, went to do a job that they tolerated to make ends meet. They didn't do it for their passion or their purpose for the most part, right? But
Right.
purpose is it's a tapestry that gets woven over time as we observe the world and we have experiences, and our purpose nudges us in the right direction to use our gifts, right? So um when I first started out teaching elementary school, I knew I could hang out with kids all day because they were so cool, and I knew that I could like play with them and teach them. So I went into education, and immediately within the first 2 years, I was, told, "You're gonna be the leader of this team, and now you're gonna coach this team in, these skills," because they were using things that I had to learn on the fly in my job, such as discipline and, developmental disorder kinda things, and so then I was immediately put into coaching roles, and so over the years, that's, evolved into different work situations. And always I got put back into those roles. And I guess finally I broke through the wall of understanding and believing, like, oh, maybe I'm a good coach. Like maybe I'm good at helping lead people through transformation and learn new skills in a warm, compassionate, caring way that's not stopping them and making them feel less than. So it's been an evolution over the years and breaking through, I think, some imposter syndrome, even after getting degrees and certifications, still like, but who am I? So the proof is in the pudding, though, when it works and people come back and tell you how much they appreciated it. Um, Finally, I felt affirmed enough to be able to go out and make it a career.
Awesome. I love that. And I think a lot of women feel that where they just get, they feel like they're being an imposter and we're not. We have so much to give and so much to share with the world. And that's, it's our passion and it's our purpose. And so I am just thrilled that you are pursuing that and just putting yourself in a position where you can help more women. So my next question is, and kind of came up as you were talking, why do you think women tend to underestimate and downplay their gifts and their roles in life?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons, right? But like what you mentioned is um bouncing back on what I experience as an imposter syndrome, comparing ourselves to other people, thinking that we have to do it like someone else or be like somebody else. But a lot of this comes from deeply ingrained, I call it programming, right? Because from the time we're born through the time we're 7 or 8 years old, we're largely in kind of a dream brainwave state where we're just downloading the world around us. We're just programming our mind body computer to understand the world. And so, limiting beliefs and thoughts about the world that exist in our families, about what's possible in our cultural roles, or even within like, religion and church, even within our ethnic or cultural societal groups. There are beliefs that are shared with good intention to keep us safe and help us to follow a good path, right? But oftentimes, those limiting beliefs, they get twisted around into something that holds us back into believing that we're not meant for those things or we're not good enough. Um, a lot of emotion is stored in those memories and that programming, like humility, shame, guilt, unworthiness, fear. And then it becomes apathy, just like, well, this is fine. It's all fine how it is. I don't need to change anything. I've been doing this for so long. It's okay. I don't need to honor that voice in my heart, in my gut that's telling me that I'm meant for more. So, we get stuck in our roles, especially as women, because we tend to carry so many roles: mother, wife, teacher, daughter, granddaughter, caretaker, caring for little ones, then caring for our parents, and so on. So we mistake our identity for that role and those roles that we play. And in the end, a lot of times we just lose touch of our life purpose. We bury it down and we underestimate um, the value and the importance of those God given gifts that we were made to embody and the purpose that we were made to come here to share, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. So, what do you feel like are the first steps in connecting to our gifts and our purpose?
It sounds really simple and it sounds really easy, but I find that most people have a very difficult time with it, and that is stillness, just
Ooh.
being still. And whether you think of that as, your stillness in prayer time, meditation, just sitting and being, you know, when I think back to my childhood, we grew up in a very rural area, not fast paced. Obviously, we didn't have the even though it was just a few years ago, April.
Yeah, right.
Just a few years ago. We didn't
I didn't want to go there. How many years it's been?
right. I mean, we're very young, right? So,
Yes, so young.
um,
Yes.
the the technology that we have today, the media, it just wasn't part of our lives. And so
Oh,
I remember, much of the day, my grandmother would be just rocking in her chair and people might stop in, but she was just hanging out and gardening and she was just present in her life. And even though she might have been babysitting me or some other cousins, um, there was a lot of stillness in her daily activities, time to hear that voice, time to connect with that voice, even though she might have been doing things.
right.
But today, we're so inundated with data and messaging and busyness. And from the television to the phone to the work that we do online to our jobs to all of those different roles and all of the opportunities that we have to be busy, volunteering for this church function, doing this for this school function, involved in the animal shelter fundraiser, all of these things. We just don't have time or the lifestyle to truly just be still. And that's the key, I believe, is having that time every single day, ideally a couple of times a day, to just stop and be still and to listen to God. And, we think about prayer and meditation time and I know when I was younger, I would get up, I'd set my alarm clock and I'd get up and I'd like do Bible study at my dining room table, but I did that just like I did work. I made it work. I was thinking and analyzing and studying and writing and taking notes and journaling and it was all in my head. Right? It was like work. And then I'd be like, oh, this is what I need to pray about. It was like a to-do list. And um it was work. It was beta thinking, beta wave thinking. It was not a soul connection. And, as I've gotten older and as many of us do, we realize there's a little more depth to it. And that stillness is the key to remembering our purpose, remembering our value, what we came here to do, and touching base. It's kind of like a phone call to heaven, to outside of ourselves, um greater than what's happening here in our world day to day. And that stillness, that just being and that connectedness, that's where we connect to our emotions. That's where we really can register, like, what is really going on with me? I know this isn't right or this is on the right track. And remembering who we are, what we love, what lights us up, what excites us, our purpose and what we're meant for. So stillness, that's my answer to your question.
Well, love that. And I absolutely, that's one of the things that I teach in my coaching program is I make sure that we add that in hopefully every day. I mean, that's the goal. And so I love that.
Mhm.
It's just, it's so important. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what other mistakes do you feel like women are doing that's just keeping them stuck? What things, what else comes up? That you,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think going along with that, learning to find stillness and find that space, it's so many distractions. We're stuck in the survival paradigm, right? We're always, especially as women, especially as mothers and caregivers, those nurturing qualities that we often have as females. It's analyzing, looking for trouble, scanning all around us, being observant at all times for safety and security, problem solving, just being stuck in the doing in that, beta brainwave, this memorized record of who we are, this memorized pattern of who we are and how we show up every single day. But when we get into that stillness, then we're connected to the divine. We can listen to our heart and we can allow it to work through us and awaken us and tune us in to that greater thing. But without that stillness, it's very hard to discern what those limiting thoughts and beliefs and behavior patterns are that were probably ingrained in us when we were little, young children, but have been reinforced all throughout our life and even in our work and in our relationships and in our education. They're just pounded in. This is how it is. So we just have these ingrained limiting beliefs um, that prevent us from taking action and moving forward in our purpose. And you know this, and I'm sure this is something that you work on in your hormone and your health practices, but that can really make us sick. It doesn't just keep us off track of our purpose and our meaning in life, but it can make us diseased. It can make us sick and fester inside of us. So, you know, I see a lot of time people filling this void of purpose with frivolous activities. Maybe it's something that gives someone else purpose, but it's not your purpose. Maybe it's, you know, an addiction to shopping or just staying busy, doing, volunteering more, giving more, um, traveling, but not necessarily traveling because it's part of your purpose, but traveling just to fill time and space and just being busy to fill the void versus really tuning in, narrowing down, these are the values I live by. These are the values that guide my life direction. And that it's because this is my purpose. And so, yes, I might shop and yes, I might travel and yes, I might do things, but those all come back to my values and my
Yeah,
purpose.
absolutely. Keeping him at the center for sure. I love that. What's the if we've got lots of women listening and maybe even watching the recording of this. What small shift could a woman listening today um, kind of begin that process of connection and empowerment and fulfillment that we're all looking for?
Mhm. It begins with just noticing what you're thinking and the words that you're saying to other people and to yourself, and noticing your beliefs, right? So, um, we have this emotional guidance system that helps us to, use discernment when when we feel like something isn't right, then our tuition and our instincts, that is, the system that got embedded in us to know, to have clues that something is off. And so often we just bury everything and stay so stuck in that analytical mind of logic and reasoning. Well, if this seems like the right thing logically, then it must be the right thing, that we kind of get out of touch with that emotional connection of what is truly right or wrong for us in our life. So when we can finally tune in and really notice, and I know for me, it really felt like an awakening. I mean, I was raised in, church my whole life, and I felt like, during my 20s I was very devoted to church and learning, and I was very good at the academic part of it, right? But it wasn't until something clicked for me later on in life, um that to really, like, pay attention, like, is is this, like, really a righteous thing to say or think about myself or about others? Do I really believe that this is the path that was meant for me? And so I found myself noticing all kinds of little phrases that came in from my childhood that were generally implanted like fear-based protection to keep us
Mhm.
safe, but they are very self-sabotaging or might be trying to, have an intention of helping us to be humble, modest people, but have then created this side effect of being insecure and feeling like an imposter. So
Mm.
sometimes these little voices in our head and these thoughts or beliefs that we carry that were probably planted there with the best of intentions, they can be cleaned up and we can rework them into being something empowering us toward fulfilling our life's purpose and something that would really make um God proud, make our community proud, make our family proud, make us proud of living out that purpose and those values.
Oh, so good. Oh my. Yeah, and I feel like, for me anyways, I felt that shift like you were talking about in your 20s, when I first started having kids. Like, I was like,
Yes.
"Whoa, I've got this huge responsibility. I need to clean this up," you know?
Right.
So I totally felt that, that about that same age. So that's
Yeah.
just amazing. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of women listening, are probably, a little older like us. And so they're probably experiencing, some of these things or have experienced some of those in the past. So tell me, if someone is listening and they feel really inspired by what you've shared here today, and but then they have these thoughts that maybe they're too set in their ways or they're too old to change or all the crazy things that we think sometimes, right? Our personalities just, we're just change is impossible. Like, what would you say to that woman listening?
Right. So we hear this all the time, right? Like,
Yes.
oh, I can't do that because
Yep.
I'm too old to change now. I can't teach an old dog new tricks. Oh, I'm an introvert, so I can't do those extroverted things. Or, we have all kinds of excuses that we that we will employ to give ourselves a reason not to step out of that loop, that comfortable loop. But once we have that push, that courage to do that, we know we need to live out our purpose and values. You got to get out of that loop. So, I think of it like as a mother. This is super easy to do as a mother. But put yourself in the shoes of God, right? Looking at you as a mother, as God, like, we don't want our children to be living this life underestimating themselves and what they came here for. We don't want them settling for less than we know that they're capable of doing and for their purpose in life. And most certainly, what we know we instilled in them and worked really hard to make sure that they had, you know, that we don't want them to just disregard that and be too afraid, too stuck in their ways, too comfortable, too insecure, too full of excuses to move forward, to get healthy, to get well, to lose the weight, to start exercising, to start doing that business that they've always dreamt of, to start serving in a new capacity that has been, itching at them that they've just been too afraid to do because it was different. It was a change. We don't want our children, and I don't believe God wants us to ignore the clues, the path, all the little messages and signs that, we're being given to fulfill that purpose. So sometimes I find it very easy to think of um, people and our brain as sort of a computer system, right? People seem to understand this now because technology is so dominant in our life, right? So if you think of God as the ultimate creator, the ultimate programmer, obviously, and your mind, that's your central processing unit, your brain, your nervous system, right? Your body is the facilitator of that, the keyboard, the mouse, the cursor, right? You are created to do certain things. You were born and you have this basic program downloaded into you that you have a purpose. This is what you're here to do, right? The computer at the Treasury, the United States Treasury, has a different purpose than the computer at my child's school, right? They have different purposes, just like us. We have different purposes. And so we're born with this program, but we've been, getting all of this other programming from the world, from other people, from media, you know, dropped into us all through our lives. And this is now, it's so much, it's overrunning the program that we were meant for. So if you went and you opened up your user manual and you realize that you have so much more potential and purpose than you had accepted in your life, would you say, oh, Sorry, God. No thanks, but no thanks. I've got all these other things I can do now. So I'm comfortable. No thanks. And not live out your purpose. I don't think so, right? I don't
No.
think that we would do that. So we can connect with within, connect with God, and identify that greatest expression of ourself that we were made for. We can prune away those other programs and those other pathways, and we can create new thoughts and beliefs and habits, and even a whole new personality paradigm for how we're showing up in the world just by going back to that real true program that's our purpose and values that we were intended to do all along.
So good. Yeah, so true. It's amazing, and I love the analogy too, because that really helps us wrap our heads around, what's really going on. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, can you give us some practical examples of how you or maybe even other women have made these shifts in their lives? What have you seen?
Yeah. I mean, this is a process, changing the brain is a process, changing your brain, your body. It takes time. And when we when we realize that this is something we can do, we start implementing the things, um anything is possible at all. For me, it was just coming to the realization that, this waking up every day with my 5 a.m. alarm clock, rushing around all day long, frankly working a job that, a teenager or a young adult could do, despite the fact that I had multiple degrees, multiple certifications, being tired all the time, gaining weight from stress, eating on the run, choosing unhealthy things because I was so busy, not getting sunlight, not resting, worrying. Um, that wasn't serving me. And for years, I thought, this is just how it is. This is just life. Life is hard and then you die. Those are some of the limiting beliefs that I had grown up hearing. And for a long time, I didn't like it. I was probably depressed and I was definitely miserable a lot of the times, but acknowledging, like noticing, you know what? I think I'm meant for more than this, and setting myself on that path to do these things, to change the wiring in my brain, to change my thoughts, my beliefs, my actions, and frankly, my personality, how I show up in the world. um and I mean, basically my life is a complete opposite of that. I wake up when the sun starts coming in my window. I, stand in the yard with my dogs and I ground and I let them run around for a little while and get some morning sunlight. I sit and drink my coffee slowly on the porch outside, getting more light, and my day flows with ease. I enjoy what I do. I feel meaning in what I do. And I could go on and on, right? But this isn't just me. So I had a client, Cindy. Cindy had a great job. She was a corporate scientist. She worked for all the big name food companies that you would recognize if I named them. She traveled all over the world. They were sending her to all these chef trainings and all these really cool things all the time. She made a ton of money. But you know what? She was pretty miserable. Like, her job stressed her out. She was nervous all the time to do presentations, had a lot of anxiety, was sick of traveling because it was always for a purpose other than hers. It was for someone else's agenda. She was exhausted. She ended up getting very, very sick, hospitalized, surgery, the whole nine yards. And that's what it took for her. That is what it took for her to have the wake up call. Unfortunately, she didn't just have a moment where someone said something that touched her and made her realize, I can make a change. She had to go through a lot of pain and trauma because she had a limiting belief that, making money is the most important thing for me in my life. Well, I'm in the years of working. That's what I'm here to do. She believed that status and privilege were more important than, living a relaxing, chill life. And she also thought she had the limiting belief that, and I think this resonates with a lot of women, I spent too much money and time on this degree. And this certification, I cannot change now. Like, I I just will I'll beat myself up if I change now. So
Yeah.
all of that,
That is
that's
so true. I
hard.
see that a lot.
Right. So years of commitment to something and money, it's so much money to go into something and then to change. Oh, what will people think? So she had the traumatic experience, so she decided she was going to make a change. She went back to school, she changed careers. Now she has the life that she always wanted, but she was afraid to pivot to. She like wakes up, sits on the porch with her cat, watches the sun come up. She works near her home, so she's home every day. So when she travels, it's with purpose that she's going to do things that fulfill her and that she wants to do in her life. She doesn't quite make the money she made before, but she doesn't need the money because her lifestyle choices now are different. What she prioritizes, what she values, they're different. And so she doesn't feel pressured to make up this difference in that because she's very, very happy and complete just as she is. So it's not always about, oh, I want to do this because I want to make more money or I want to be more. Success doesn't always have to be about money or fame or notoriety. It's success is about finding what's right for you. Sometimes that does mean you have more of those things and sometimes not at all, right?
Right. So true.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think too, if women can take a step back and take a look at their priorities, don't let yourself get into a place where you were like this poor lady who was, hospitalized and surgeries, and that is life changing when those things happen. And so if we can help women walk away from those things and into something better, then that's a huge reward for us too, right? To
It
help
is.
women. Yes.
That's why we do this work, right, April?
Yes.
This is fulfilling work. Even if nobody outside of our client pool ever hears our name, hearing stories of people who can come back and say, "What you said meant something to me. I still think about how I was able to make this change because you said this or that. You steered me in this. You kept me accountable."
Yes. Yes, exactly. And I think that's where and I say this often, so you probably have heard this from me before, but I feel like that's what women are lacking in 2025 is that community where they
Yes.
can bounce ideas off each other and support each other and celebrate those wins and walk through struggles together. And I think that's what we're missing. And again, it goes back to that technology and all the fast paced things we have now. We don't have those times where we visit. And so yeah, I see a lot of improvements coming because we realize that now. And so as we're getting our voice out into the world, we are helping women realize that there is so much more, and it's so exciting, so exciting. So we need to wrap up here pretty soon, but I want to give you one last chance here. Any final thoughts that you want to share that maybe came up as we've been talking?
Yeah, and I do wanna just, totally agree with what you said about community. I do feel like that's the direction we're going as a culture now. Social media, the media, it might be a good tool for us to find our people, but really honing in on who our community is, having that accountability structure, and through women's circles, through, coaches, I think that's really gonna become more prominent um, over the next decade. I think that's where we're going to find ourselves. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I completely
Yeah,
agree. Yeah, I think that's definitely where we're headed, and I'm excited about that because
me
I
too.
love seeing women together. Even just in my small coaching programs, I see amazing transformations just with the connections that people are making. They need that friendship and they need that community with other women. So I love that. I love that
Mhm.
we're offering that. So
Yeah.
if someone is
Yeah.
listening and they're like, I need to work with Valarie, which we all do, right? We all are on your list. But how can they reach out to you to begin the process? What do you recommend? What's the best way? Lay it
Yes.
on us.
For sure. So, the very best way to kind of get to all of the things is to go to the website Elevate My Impact, um, elevatemyimpact.com. And there you'll find a little bit more about me. You will find near the bottom some social media links if you want to connect there. I'm always open to connecting and messaging, getting to know people. I understand I'm always apprehensive about working with somebody new. I wanna get to know them. I wanna watch and learn and see who they are, and then I'm happy to jump in, and like you, April, I'm part of multiple little circles of women, groups of women in different aspects from homeschool to, my like religious and spiritual groups to my, health coaches and wellness and so on. Um, so yeah, feel free to come stalk me, as I like to say, like stalk me out. If you want to do that first, I totally get that. But there you'll see that I have a free guide. So 95% of what we do on a day-to-day basis, we're like robots. We're just like we pop out of bed and we go through this robot day. And that's completely normal. I mean, that keeps us from burning out by having to think about every single choice in our life all day long. So we need a little bit of normalcy, but only like 5% of that is really something that we're truly thinking about. And so the guide is intended to help you identify areas in your life and to think through your values, your purpose, and is there any area in your life in this 95% automaticity that you're just on the hamster wheel of life that you need to shine a light on? That you're doing things or feeling things or thinking things that are not aligned with your purpose and that are not aligned with your values, which is a big deal because our values guide us in our life. So, um, you can grab that free guide. You can connect with me on social media. But I'm working on finishing up a Becoming a Person of Impact course, which is a 20 module, do at your own pace, pick and choose what module you need kind of course. But I've already started the group coaching for that. So I have a group coaching that sometimes there's one person on the coaching call. Sometimes there's 20 or more. So it really just depends. It could be spotlight on you, um, but you can jump into a group coaching call and um, we can really work together to kind of highlight those areas that came up in the free guide. Or if you don't want to even go through the free guide, we can just jump right into some questioning to understand where you're at, where you need to go. And if you don't know where you need to go, we can kind of figure that out. So, transformational coaching is just kind of helping you be the leader of your own life to discover your own purpose and where those gaps are that you need to fill, whether it's in your health, whether it's in your family, whether it's in your life purpose, your job, and so on.
Awesome. Wonderful. So good to see you
You
again.
too.
So I'm so happy that all of our listeners get to hear you and learn from you. And I am looking forward to watching you, stalking you too, and seeing all the great things that are coming and how you're going to help so
Yes.
many women. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, we will keep working on our personal goals, keeping our priorities straight. And again, if you need anything, we are here for you. So until next time, ladies, we'll see you. We'll see you through the process.
Thanks.
Bye, Valerie.
Bye.